The death of Stalin is based on a true event in a real life?
A lot of it is based on true events, yes. I mean, when I read the graphic novel, the story was horrifying. It was strangely funny and yet crazy. But what appealed to me was that all the events in the novel and in the film are based on true events, yes. So we open with a concert where Stalin wants a recording and they haven't made a recording and they have to re-record the whole thing and the conductor faints and they have to get another conductor in. All true.
How much of the first Marxist party influenced this movie?
What the Marxists, but I think it was more the Marx brothers than Karl Marx influenced this, because it's not really looking at communism as such. It's looking at what happens to a regime when it becomes just authoritarian, and where there's no democracy, and where the person at the centre of it is so in control that you're not even allowed to think different thoughts.
What it is more impactful in regards to this movie? Is Stalin's idea of full control or his love for the movies?
Yes, I mean, we see at the very beginning that, and this is absolutely true, Stalin loved American Westerns, and he would get prints in from America, and they were in English, and he would show them to people at 1 o'clock in the morning. He liked to keep people up late. It was part of that power thing that he had. And they were in English, so he'd have to hire a translator to translate them into Russian live as they were screening. The translator would stand next to the screen and just translate as it went along.
Reviewing your other interviews, you say that the comedy is tragic and terrible. Tell us a little more about that.
When I made the film, I knew it was going to be both a comedy and a tragedy at the same time. And really, a lot of the work was about making sure every scene was funny and yet dramatic at the same time, because there are horrible things happen in the film because they happened in real life to millions of people. People were tortured, they were sent to prison, they were shot, and we don't try and hide that. But the comedy is going on indoors, in the Kremlin, the people surrounding Stalin, but the results of what they do, their craziness, you then see happen for real outside. So it's the comedy's inside, the tragedy's outside.
The death of Stalin was conceived well before the last US election, and you say that you find it difficult to be funny about the actual President Donald Trump. Explain us that.
Well, I mean, I can be funny about Donald Trump, but I kind of feel I don't want to, because I find him more depressing than anything else. Yeah, we made this film, we shot it in the summer of 2016, so before Trump's election, and yet, you know, when Trump came into power, I'm not saying he's like Stalin, but within 2 days he was tweeting that CNN and NBC were enemies of the people. But that's a Stalin phrase. Stalin called all his opponents enemies of the people. In fact, that phrase was banned in Russia after Stalin died. And so I just see strange parallels, not just with Trump, but with people like Putin and Erdogan in Turkey and Berlusconi in Italy. These figures who want to control everything, and even though they get in through democracy, they then try and change democracy so that they can stay at the top forever.
You had shot more graphic footage for the earliest scenes, but you delete everything during the editing. Why?
Well, in the edit, I knew that we had to get this balance right between the comedy and the reality. And I knew that would be the work that I'd be doing in the edit that went on for about 5 months. And sometimes it meant taking out a joke, because I felt the joke in a certain scene took us out of that scene. So I removed the joke. And sometimes I took slightly more violent, more graphic scenes out that were earlier in the film, because I wanted to save that. I wanted to suggest stuff rather than present it in sort of grim reality until quite near the end.
Russian politicians and another public figures blasted the death of Stalin as a disgusting. What did you think about that?
Well, you see, the Russians who've seen the film have said two things to me. They've said it's true and it's funny. And one cinema in Moscow defied the ban and screened it, and the audiences stood and applauded at the end of the film, because it's very respectful to the Russian people and to what happened to them. You know, it's very honest about what happened to them. I suspect that it got banned because a politician somewhere in Russia was nervous. The thing about comedy is, you know, certain politicians don't like jokes being made about them because they can't control the response. Politicians like to be in control. And the thing about a joke is there's an unpredictable response to it. If people laugh, you can't make them not laugh. And that's what politicians don't like.
To our audience, tell them why they cannot miss going to watch this movie.
Well, it's first of all, I hope you enjoy it as a comedy, but I hope you learn something from it in terms of the history that it shows, but also as it shows a world of what it's like when there is no democracy and when one person is completely in control of everything.
I've been picking out funeral cushions with Slim Hitler over there.
Trust no one.
Stalin will be loving this.
Don't worry. Nobody's gonna get killed, I promise you.
I've had nightmares that made more sense than this.